Before we kind of get started, I want to take just a few minutes to talk about one other thing that's kind of important to me and a lot more people. Jeff Hewitt. This year will be the 10th anniversary of his passing. Some of you in here probably knew Jeff personally. Some of you may have not. In 10 years, this department's taken on some new employees and some people that may not have known him. I didn't know him personally myself, but I remember the day he died. I remember that morning getting up on the radio and hearing a Buncombe County deputy had been killed. It didn't really sink into me until at that time Captain Presley walked into a classroom over at AB Tech and I saw the look on his face. I want to encourage you guys to kind of talk about Sergeant Hewitt and remember who he was. When we practiced our presentation last night, they started telling some of those stories about some of the things he did outside of work. Some of his construction efforts, I think, were some of the stories. And it was really humorous to hear those things. And I'd like to challenge you to continue to talk about those things so that people like me that didn't personally know him will still hear those stories and know about who he was. Talking about challenges. This team faced a lot of challenges. Just a little video. If you hadn't seen it, this is not one of our actual traffic stops, as you can tell, but the temperatures were pretty doggone cold. January set some new record lows for Asheville, and we were out there in those temperatures. But talking about the challenges, these challenges started before we even came together as a team. We were given this 55-page handout about going from good to great. Talked about these large agencies, school systems, and the things that they had done. Talked about level 5 leaders, getting people on a bus, getting them in the right seat on the bus. Talked about this terrible thing called the doom loop. Kind of made me a little nervous about what we were going to be doing together as a team. The next thing that kind of was a challenge before we even come together is the thought of working with 5 guys you might have seen in passing, but you never worked with, didn't know what they would do or how they would perform. And we're going to be doing something outside the normal duties. I work in patrol. I'm very happy in patrol. I'm comfortable in patrol. I don't know about this civil process thing. I remember some of it from FTO. The detention facility. That's a whole scary beast in and of itself. Our team collectively has about 33 years experience just with the Sheriff's Department itself. But we bring about 157 years of prior work experience to this team. I think that's pretty impressive, the experience that you have when we bring in these deputies, what they bring to the table when they come to this COPS team's meeting. And then I want to introduce everybody and introduce myself. My name's Jerry Jackson. I'm probably one of the newest employees, been here just a little over 6 months. For 10 years, I tried to figure out how I could get through BLET. In my old job, I could not figure out how to schedule it, couldn't attend the night school, and do those things. Had some life-changing experiences. The stars lined up. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a BLET class, grinning from ear to ear. I'm a little bit older than your normal rookie, but I don't think there's anybody else as happy to be wearing 100% polyester as I am with this patch. Right here, Deputy Coomer, Buncombe County Detention Facility. Former race car driver and paint store manager. Some of those skills. Right next to him, Deputy Warren, Detention Facility also. U.S. Army paratrooper. Was a drill instructor for a period of time in there, and his main function while in the service was a chemical operations specialist. It makes me feel very comfortable when Lieutenant Denow's carrying around those boxes with canisters in it. Not sure what he's got. Ike McLemore from Civil Process down there. Ike brings a lot of prior experience, but he's also an avid gardener, furniture maker, and he is the only person I've ever met that has wrecked a stationary bicycle. It was a great story. We have David Schroeder down here on the end from CID, and we're actually able to find a picture from David's BLET class. He's the one at the bottom left. He had 5 instructors. This is actually a picture from APD's archive. I think they're able to identify some of them. David's not admitting to being the fifth unknown person. We also have our last member here, Major Bissinger. We call him Major B. Most of you call him Major B, but he comes with a lot of experience too. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, and also everybody knows he ran the AB Tech BLET program for years and years and years. When we came together, we didn't know each other, but now I feel like I've got 5 friends that I can reach out to for anything that if I've got a question about in their area, and I know that they can call me with any question that they have. It was incredible working with these people, and it's kind of sad that we won't be working together tomorrow. Everybody has in front of them our restatement of the community problem. It's pretty lengthy. And to boil it down for you, it talks about geographical boundaries, targeted specific individuals, feedback based on the community meeting, and the utilization of resources within the agency and outside the agency. We sat down and went through a whole day of classroom stuff, talking about good to great, problem-based learning. We're handed this problem statement, and we were a little bit lost, to say the least. Looking at each other, kind of that lost look on our face. We did the brainstorming stuff. We researched the list of names of people that they gave us, investigated the information that we had. Went to the community meeting on that Tuesday night. It was a little chilly that night too. We put all this together, and we were a little bit lost as to what to do with this stuff. Where to go, what direction. The key point that really kind of turned my mind on, that made me know we could solve this problem, deal with this problem, and do whatever we needed to, was when the team took somebody to jail and we had to deal with this new booking process. How many of you have had a chance to go through the jail in this new booking process? We got one over there. They have moved walls, put up new desks. It's completely different. I thought, no problem at all. We got 2 guys that work at detention. They'll know exactly what to do. They had that same blank look on their face when they walked in the jail. We worked as a team. We figured out everything we needed to get the warrant, process the person. It went efficiently. It went quick. We had help from the staff there at the facility. I knew that we could do whatever it is that was put in front of us to do. We went back to our mission statement, something that everybody here knows about. If you haven't, it's very simply stated up here, and we looked at it. How can we take all this information, everything we've talked about, relate it to our mission statement, and go forward? Based on the good to great information that we got, we kind of took the hedgehog concept. If you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to look at the good to great to see what it's about. We got the flywheel turning on this problem with all this information, all this input and feedback that we had back from that. We then went straight to our core values. And what we're going to talk about in this problem statement and everything that we did is we related everything we did to our guiding principles that are here in front of you. Painted on the wall. They're on every door as you come in or out of this building. They're on the back of every officer's badge. Every vehicle that's marked has it on there too. It applies to almost everything we do. Ken's going to come up and talk about service, what we did in crime prevention, the community meetings that we had, and the neighborhood interaction with homeowners association, crime watch programs. David's going to come up and talk about integrity, how we dealt with the property crimes, the breaking and enterings, the neighborhoods, the collaboration that we had between the SCAT, Reserve, SERVE program, outside agencies that were involved in those things. Ike is going to talk about accountability, all the people of interest that we were looking at, the checking stations, the results of those checking stations. Derek's going to come up and talk about dignity, the things that we did with our juveniles, the Detention Prevention program, reaching out to our SROs, that one-on-one contact we made with some of those younger people in the community. And finally, Major Bishner is going to come up and he's going to kind of close things up and talk about professionalism, how what we did as a COPS team, the community interaction, the welcome tables that we were introduced to and got to know people in the community. He's going to talk about the return on investment. You've given this team 4 weeks to do something, and it is paid off on the project itself, but it's also a long-term return on your investment because now you've got 5 deputies. You have a total of about 66 deputies that have been through the COPS team program. And each one that goes through there is another deputy that's going to be able to look at things differently, to collaborate with those that they work with, and outside that they don't work with, they might not know, but would be more willing to reach out and ask for that help to deal with problems. So you're getting a return on the problem, and you're also getting a long-term return on the education and the benefit to the deputies that are involved. A lot of personal growth. I truly feel like I've got 5 new friends now that I didn't know I even had. And finally, just Major Bister will be talking about thanking all the people that were involved. Truly, truly appreciate it. We got some guests that came in and helped us out with some of the projects and the neighborhoods we were in. It's unbelievable the help that we got, the people that volunteered, the people that jumped in and did things. Just an incredible experience. So, I'd like to ask Ken to come forward and take over the next part of this.
Good morning. I'm Kenneth Warren from the detention facility. Like Jerry was saying, we had our problem in front of us. We kind of knew what they wanted us to do. But we went to the community meeting out in Skyland Fire Department, and we talked to the citizens out there about any issues that they were having in their neighborhoods. We didn't have a huge turnout when we got there because it was extremely cold that night, but we did get to talk to some citizens from about 3 or 4 different communities out there. And some of the communities that they were talked about is Bridgewater, Laurel Loop, Royal Pines, and Glen Meadows. So we talked to a guy from the Bridgewater community, and one of his problems was Laurel Loop. Some of you probably have heard of Laurel Loop. There's been lots of trouble out there over the years. He said people were running through the woods through his property, stray dogs, wild dogs, stuff like that. So we drove up there. Bridgewater and Laurel Loop are right beside each other. Bridgewater is a gated, community, a lot of nice homes. 50 yards through the woods is Laurel Loop. If you've never been up there, it's a mobile home park. A lot of trouble in there, a lot of abandoned trailers, stuff like that. So we kind of redirected our focus to Laurel Loop. We assured the Bridgewater community that we were going to address that issue. So we go up to Laurel Loop, and the first day we just kind of drive around, assess the situation, see what was going on up there. There's a couple of short videos here of some of the abandoned trailers that we saw up there. We found 7 abandoned trailers, vacant trailers. Some of them are pretty bad shape, and we talked to some of the citizens that live in Laurel Loop, and some of their biggest concerns were these trailers. They said there was drug activity, people coming up there at night. They were kids. They were worried about kids going in these trailers, getting hurt, stuff like that. So that was one of the biggest things that we wanted to do, is to figure out what we could do with these abandoned trailers up there. So we talked to Mr. Roger Presley here from the County Environmental Solid Waste Management, and Matt Stone, who he does zoning and planning. And we were like, what can we do with this area? They're like, well, we've been up there before. We were told not to go up there without any deputies because there's a lot of trouble up there. So we figured out these first three trailers that were up there were owned by one individual named Michael Gore. So we got in touch with him and his son. They explained it, their father had passed away and all this stuff, and the trailers were kind of in probate, who owns them, who's doing what. So we talked to him, got him working on, look, these are your stuff, we want you to fix them. We're going to help you, but we want you to do it. So we got that going on. Like I said, Mr. Presley here, he's got a program with the county where they will deliver dumpsters to an area. It's free of charge to the community. We'll bring these dumpsters in and let the community throw away their trash, because that's what was up there, just a bunch of trash, a bunch of old couches, furniture, and all this stuff right here. I actually found some hypodermic needles, some stuff like that. So Roger was nice enough to give us, these dumpsters, sharps containers, stuff like that. Put the dumpster up there. It took a few days for people kind of realized. We knocked on all the doors, said, look, this is what this dumpster's here for. It's for your use. Throw away anything you want, household trash, old furniture, whatever. finally we got, you know, the dumpster filled up. Took a few days, us going out there, showing them that we're going to help them out, that we were there to help throw away the trash. We actually got some inmates from the detention facility to help out removing some of the furniture and stuff, just to let the citizens know that, you know, try to get them motivated to take care of their own stuff. There's also a program that Roger has of removing abandoned or vacant trailers. This is a good program that the county does where they will come in and they will remove an old vacant trailer for you for free of charge. The only thing is you have to sign a contract for 1 year that you will not develop the property, you will not move a new trailer on there, or you will not sell the property. It's a great program. This trailer down here, there was two Hispanic males back here in the back, you'll see in a minute, back there's a burning old trash and stuff. We driving through there, we talked to these two individuals and you know, let them know it's illegal for one to be burning tires and stuff like that. And two, we explained to them Roger's program that he has about removing these trailers. When we first talked to him, Roger gave him the information, gave him his card and stuff, and we're, you know, do they really understand what we're talking about? So as we were leaving out, we were kind of, there's a bridge that goes up into Laurel Loop, and we were just kind of hanging out there, and these two guys were come down with these buckets of water, and they were going down the creek getting buckets of water to go put out the fire that we told them they had to, you know, it was illegal to do. So myself and Ike were like, let's go back over and talk to them and really explain to them what this program's about. So we did that, and Hector, I think was his name, got with Roger, and he signed the contract to have this trailer removed from this property. So that's mainly what we were doing up in Laurel Loop. Like I said, there was a lot of trouble there before. I think some of the main troublemakers are gone from up there. On these community meetings that we went to and stuff, you know, these citizens, you know, these community meetings are good stuff that all officers need to kind of just go in there and talk to people. If you're out there on patrol or you're riding around, just stop by these community meetings and you'll find out a lot of information. This is another trailer that was up there that was being removed. Like I said, Roger contracts these out to different people. They'll come up there with their little Bobcat track hoe. They tear a hole in the side of the trailer, drive the track hoe inside the trailer, and just start removing it. It's a one-day operation pretty much. They can have it taken down, removed completely out of there in 1 day. So just some of the things to remember while you're out there. You know, you can let other people know about this program. Try to promote it to help out the county, help out Roger. Like I said, it's free of charge if they sign that contract. But that was the biggest deal, was the Laurel Loop thing. We're just trying to clean that area up. Once we were up there for a few days, somebody came up there with a Bobcat. Nobody knows who this person was. Fixed the road, put gravel down, scraped out some of the holes and stuff. So, you know, maybe these citizens that are up there, and the few that are, you know, trying to do the right thing, are getting motivated to take care of their own community and stuff. So that's a good thing that we did up there. Like I said, this is Hector's trailer. It's going to be the next removal. Not, you know, they're contracted out, so it might take a couple of weeks or so for them to get in there to remove it, but they're eventually going to remove this one. Two other, the Royal Pines and the Glen Meadows. Glen Meadows was one of the citizens there at the community meeting we talked to, said they'd been having trouble with juveniles, some tagging going on, some B&Es and stuff like that. We talked to several members of the community. Ike has some family that lives out there and stuff. Talked to a lot of the neighborhood watch leaders out there, let them know what we were doing in the area and stuff, and just try to, you know, figure out if they had any big issues out there. Glen Meadows, they had a few things back in the summer, but they said for the most part, you know, their neighborhood's pretty good to go. Royal Pines was another area that we were kind of concentrating on. Got that from CID. Had a rash of break-ins from like July to December. So we did a lot of stuff out there in that area, and David and Ike will talk more about them. But we got a lot of good response from the communities. That's, you know, the citizens out there, they just want to talk to you, want you to listen to them. They know you can't fix all their problems, but you know, as long as you're listening and you're putting in an effort, then they really appreciate what you're doing out there. If there are any questions about any of the neighborhoods or whatever, feel free to answer any questions. If not, I'll turn it over to David Stroke, and he'll talk about the Picker's Paradise and stuff.
We came together a month ago with a problem that y'all have in front of you. We were given 9 people to look at as causing problems in Buncombe County. This is right after that we had been to the class all day long with Captain Sweezy on problem solving. We go back, we're scratching our heads with this book of 9 people, and we're thinking about this the next morning. We open it up, we attack the problem. We find 3 of the people, we have warrants on them. So what are we going to do next? What are we going to do for the next 3 weeks? Well, it just so happened that night we went to a community meeting at the Skyland Fire Department. In that were people from Bridgewater, Royal Pines, Glen Meadows, and some more places. And we're listening to what they're saying, and we're writing, we're taking notes. We come back the next morning, and we put together another problem. These people are concerned about their break-ins, they're concerned about Laurel Loop, they're concerned about businesses they've been to and found their stolen property. So we figure, aha. So we took that, and we actually did move from good to great in 4 weeks. Up here on the property crime, there's a place in the south end of the county called Picker's Paradise. It's located at 2350 Hendersonville Road. It's owned by a fellow by the name of David Greaves. David is a convicted felon out of Florida. A lot of stolen property goes into his place. It's property that does not have the serial numbers recorded on it. He doesn't deal in the serial numbers. That ends up at his constituent's place at Denny's Pond, owned by Denny Lewis. So we decided that we're going to attack Picker's Paradise, Denny's Pond, Royal Pines, Glen Meadows, and Laurel Loop in our 4 weeks. And folks, I'm here to tell you, we think that we did a fantastic job. If you'll notice, the lot at Picker's Paradise now, I took this picture one evening last week, like Thursday. Used to, you couldn't move in that yard. He is now selling all of his stuff out, and we understand that he's going to Henderson County. He'll be out of our hair. How are we going to do this? How are we going to accomplish all this in 4 weeks with 6 people? We went back to the drawing board, and we're going to use people in this agency. We're going to collaborate with some people that haven't been used before. We talked to Sergeant Redmond with SCET, who loaned us his people. They went out and did a good job for us. We went to Lieutenant Calhoun. We got reserves. We got SCET people out going through the neighborhoods, outside and around Picker's Paradise, taking tag numbers. We're interested. Who is going in there a lot? Going through the neighborhoods between July and December of last year, we had approximately 34 break-in and entrants in Royal Pines neighborhood. When do break-ins in neighborhoods occur? 9 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Why is that? People go to work at 9 o'clock, kids come home from school around 2 o'clock. We want to know who is in there. We want to know exactly who's in there between those hours, what they're doing, where they're supposed to be going, and we would even check to see. My name's Bill, and I'm going over here to fix the furnace. Well, we'll go with you just to make sure. We used reserves and SCET to do a lot of this for us. We did road checks. We did surveillance. In checking with Lieutenant Calhoun, the time that we used them was 127 of their hours that they spent doing this for us. And they did a fantastic job. You'd be surprised what you can do when you start reaching out for other resources that are right here in this agency to work for you like that. And they did a fantastic job. Had it been approved by somebody to run this like out of Sheila's office, at a secondary deployment, it would have cost $2,540 to do what they did for free in the 30 days that we used it. And we're very appreciative of that, and it accomplished a lot. They found out exactly what we needed to know. Along with that, floating around the room somewhere we gave to the sheriff yesterday is a new security arrest assessment. that we're gonna start implementing in these neighborhoods when to go out and do the security checks. We ran it by the Honorable Ms. Michael Love, and we went to another resource outside of this agency to secure what they had, and we simply, I think the word is plagiarize, but it works for us, and we're gonna start using that. One of the things, and the biggest problems we have in CID is serial numbers and owner-applied numbers. Owner-applied numbers, for anybody that don't know, and I'm sure y'all do, is a number other than a serial number that's easy identifiable, which would be, in this case, North Carolina driver's license number. It's very easy to do. You would be amazed, when we first get the report in CID, and let me explain that to you, there are 10 property detectives in CID. 5 of them work north and west, the other 5 work south and east. We get the report, stolen property, no serial number listed. Okay, maybe they just neglected to put it on there, or a lot of times, I don't know where it is, but I'll find it and get back to you. So when we take the report and we go out to make personal contact, serial number, you know, you think you're talking some foreign language to them. Well, we took care of that with this brochure that we're going to pass out. That brochure can be passed out by patrol officers, CID people. We'll have them in various places up here when they come to get a report. They can call up here and we'll get them one. But in that, that's what the front of it looks like. In it, it's very, we've covered everything in this brochure. For the homeowner, the date of the survey, who the officer was, any kind of special considerations, and I won't go over all of it, it's in the brochure. But we touched everything in and around that house. Doors, windows, yards, lighting, all kinds of things. Door entrances, double doors, anything that could possibly be in that house is in this brochure, all around it. Lighting, shrubs, anything that needs to be cut. You know, things like alarm systems. 2 things thieves hate worse in the world is light and noise. We've covered that. Everything's in that brochure that we're going to pass out. That's one of the things that we're really, really proud of, because this will outlive us. So we went to another way other than the 9 people we first got to, and I won't get into those. Ike will cover that in a minute. But we definitely went outside the box. And with the skillful direction of Lieutenant Hall and Chief Presley, we were able to accomplish, far exceed our expectations in what we did. This last one pretty much sums up my last 4 weeks. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ike, and he'll talk about the enforcement part of it. I appreciate you being. Any questions? Appreciate you being here, and thanks for your attention.
I had the enforcement part of this, which these numbers here, no way could we have done that without these other special teams that's been talked about already. The 9 people of interest that we started with, by the 3rd day it already turned into 14 persons of interest that was maybe suspects in some of these B&Es and larcenies on the south end. When we started looking at those, it amazed me that a lot of those persons of interest for the south end didn't live in the south end. They lived in the west, the east, all over. Had 10 adults and 4 juveniles, which the juveniles has grown even beyond the last, towards the end, of 5 juveniles, which Derek Coomer will talk about those here shortly. But when we ended up with the project, we had 29 total, which we added the juveniles to that, 24 adults. And out of all the folks and people of interest, we ended up with 33 active warrants, which we had 18 warrants served. But what amazed me, when we're looking at these folks and we're checking the records, these guys from the detention facility said, let's look and see who's coming to visit at the jail, which I had no idea we could do that. So that's how we ended up with more persons of interest. It just seemed everything ran into one circle that came right back on top of each other. The folks that run together evidently go to jail together. We had 5 check-in stations total with some extremely cold weather. You can see the picture on the right there. That's not moths or insects, that's snow. The check-in stations, we done one on Emma's Grove near Gap Creek, which was very productive. We ended up that night actually getting one of the company vehicles from Picker's Paradise in that check-in station, which we ended up with some drug charges out of it, and that vehicle was towed that night. We've done another one on Oak Terrace at Weston Road in the Royal Pines area. Another one real productive. Thanks to the special teams working that one. The K9, we actually got 2 grams of crack cocaine on that, and several warning citations and state citations as well. Done one on Royal Pines Drive. Another one night. That's the one on the bottom right. The 3600 block of Sweeten Creek Road, which was very productive. Out of those 5 check-in stations, we ended up with 19 warning citations and 22 state charges on citations, which that could have been 2 charges per citation, which was actually very impressive for the short amount of time. And there's another picture of Sweeten Creek Road there at night. We would do these check-in stations, and some during the day and some at night. We'd start at 9, 10 o'clock at night and finish up at 12:31 a.m. So extremely cold. Here's one on Gap Creek. Sunshine that day, but still was real cold. Out of the check-in stations, the vehicles towed, we had 4 vehicles towed. 2 linked back to Picker's Paradise with their company vehicles. The narcotics seized, which I talked about, the crack cocaine. We had some marijuana seized, and also I believe some prescription drugs as well, which we're still trying to have it tested and see what they are. But overall, had a really good feedback from Royal Pines. These check-in stations, when you're stopping somebody in a check-in station at midnight and it's freezing cold and the wind's blowing, and then we had one lady jump out of her car. She had to get her purse out of the trunk, but they were still thanking us for being there. And when you're sitting there and these folks are thanking you and it's pouring down the rain on one night, it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to the team here. That maybe we were doing something good, but it was pretty productive.
First off, I want to take a minute and tell the command staff and everybody that we appreciated the month that we actually were able to do this experience. It's very beneficial. It's very good training. One of the first things that we had whenever we went to the community meeting was we heard a lot of the same issue, or we heard a lot of some issues around the South Asheville area talking about juveniles running around in the neighborhood at all times of the night, early morning. So the next day, we actually, as a team, we went to the neighborhood of Glen Meadows in particular to talk with a few of the neighbors, and residents within Glen Meadows. After that, we determined that it wasn't so much that it was a juvenile problem. It was just a lot of tagging, stuff like that. So the next day we went and we actually talked to Amy Roney at T.C. Robertson High School and the SRO, which was Deputy Corey Ray. We discussed some of the issues that the SROs were having as far as tagging among school property, various issues like drugs, and just out of control behavior with some of the juveniles. After talking with him, we started out with 4 key names inside of T.C. Robertson High School. And all these students, they range from 14 to 18 years of age. Some of the charges that these kids had actually had were driving without a license all the way to assault on a law enforcement official, which one of the kids actually attempted to run over one of the deputies with a car during a domestic dispute with his father. During the scope of it, we went and actually made one-on-one contact with a lot of the juveniles that the SRO actually gave us. And after talking with most of them, it actually ended up turning out we actually doubled our number of people of interest as far as the juveniles. We went from, I want to say, four people, and we went all the way to 8 or 9. After talking with most of them, we actually found out that a lot of the issues that these kids were having actually stemmed from a death actually 3 deaths off of Highway 191, where 3 teenagers were killed about a year ago in a car accident. A lot of the youth, actually a lot of these teenagers, they started tagging as a remembrance for their fellow students, and it didn't just stop at tagging. It actually led into drugs and alcohol. But after talking with a lot of these kids, we started to understand that a lot of these kids actually had started to understand about their ways, and they actually started trying to do better. Some of them did. There's still a couple that actually we let a lot of those, and they actually went to names to CID or to patrol to try to deal with them and a little bit more proactive. On the 24th of this month, we actually collaborated with Detention Prevention at Valley Springs Middle School, along with Deputy Anders and the principal, Eddie Birchfield. The Detention Prevention team is utilized throughout the community to teach young kids about making common sense decisions. That's kind of a picture of the cell on wheels. Basic cell on wheels kind of shows these kids about poor decision making, as far as what they can expect to sleep on whenever they go to the detention facility, what they can expect to be dressed in, not their Tommy Hilfiger, their Hollister, American Eagle, anything like that. It's all the same for everybody. It goes even to, you get 3 meals a day, specific caloric intake a day. You only get a certain amount of free time a day. A lot of these kids didn't understand that. A lot of these kids actually, they thought that it was a co-ed type setting where they would actually be getting to stay with their friends. And after seeing this, they understood that it's not like that. It actually is pretty harsh, along with the nice toilet that we provide them with, that everybody gets to sit on inside the facility. Just some of the tools of the trade that we use or we utilize in the detention facility: spit hood, taser, and metal detector. But a lot of these kids, after going through the detention prevention program, don't get it construed. It's not a scared straight tool. It's actually trying to teach these kids about common sense decisions, about decisions that they can make to improve their lifestyle, not just everybody else's around them. Hopefully, it will provide them to make better choices, and therefore, with people around them, they can make better choices. But a lot of these kids actually, after seeing this, they come out with a better know-how and a better sense of what jail really is and how it is inside. And I'm going to hand it off to Major Bissinger.
Tell you a little bit about how COPS team started for me. Started in an airport, unfortunately on the West Coast. And for those of you that travel, that means a long flight. And we had been to a conference, and the sheriff was excited. And he was talking about this new concept of a COPS team. And he started in the airport, and it was on. And it's a one-way conversation for those of you that have been around. And we got on the plane. It's the first time I was ever asking questions about the safety briefing. I was like, now what happens if we have a crash over water? He was really excited, and it was a chance for me. I knew it was a good thing. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, if we're going to do this, got to be a benefit to doing it. What's the benefit? Is the benefit to the community? Is it to the county? Is it to our agency? Is it to the individual? Who's going to benefit from this work, doing all this stuff? And he was trying to explain it, and I really didn't quite grasp. In my mind, I'm thinking, you take a problem and you go solve that problem, that's who benefits, those people in that problem. So I kind of saw it that way. Well, as I went through it, my perception has changed. And being on a COPS team is about the smartest thing I've done in a while, and fitting it in. I'm going to tell you this. I was about a 70%. I keep throwing the number a little higher each day. Have y'all notice that? I was there about 70% of the time. They were good to me and let me go when I needed to go do something else or go to a meeting or something like that. And but it was a great pleasure to play that part with them and to get out there and do it. But let's talk a little bit about that. Let me get this clicker going. You know, it benefited the community. We kind of were a little bit unique in that some of the teams had gone west to very specific problems, out north to a specific problem, out east and back west and back east and back west. And we were kind of given the south. And most of you that are familiar with Buncombe County realize that the city kind of throws a big finger out into the south, gives us a little narrow area out there in the south. And we've really got a big area southeast and a big area southwest. And we ended up serving that whole region. Well, the way it benefits the community, number one is it's for those of you that are thinking, well, we're law enforcement. Well, there's a lot of law enforcement that comes with a cops team. We arrested people. We put people in jail. We wrote tickets and we did those things. And we for our aspect, we tried to help the south side. So we targeted people out in those communities that shouldn't be there, that weren't supposed to be there. And here's what I'll tell you as we were out there on Sweden Creek Road, snow was coming down, people were trying to make their way home, and we had a little line of cars going both ways. All we heard from the people out there was gratitude. We had one woman whose purse was in her trunk, and we were like, her tag was good, everything looked good, and we were going to let her move on, and she wouldn't have it. She got out of her car and got her license. She wanted us to see her license, and she wanted to thank us for being out there. And I mean, we just had that car after car after car. And then you would hit a vehicle that wasn't supposed to be there, and you'd pick up on that pretty fast. And those are the vehicles we'd spend more time with. We did a lot with trying to get the community empowered to get rid of some of their trash. Ken did a great job talking about Laurel Loop. We spent a lot of time out there. There was a lot of trash out there. And basically there were some problems with the waste management. People didn't want to go up in there and pick up trash, and I don't know that I blame them. I know they have a contract with the county, but there were some things that needed to be done for them to go up there and get trash. And what a partnership with Roger Presley. I'll talk more about him after a while. But that was invaluable to us in him helping us and getting some of that resolved and getting things back on track. We worked on getting those mobile homes that were abandoned. The doors were unlocked or gone. So people were going into those, and what they'd actually done was they'd gone to a community well, stripped some of the wires back, and they would hook up to those wires when they wanted power, and they'd run a cord into the mobile home. They'd have a little power in there if they wanted to. So we got that fixed to where they couldn't do that. The power company came out and sealed some of that off, and we had the owner boarded up, and then we worked real hard to get some removal processes going to get rid of some of the uninhabitable mobile homes that were out there. One happened while we were there. That's really neat if you've never seen them drive a track go up into they kind of crash into it, go up into it, and work from the inside out. We got another one lined up, and there may be more to come. We're still looking at that. Got a lot of community input. It's all about communication. It was a time for us to get out there and talk to those folks. A lot of good people up there. What you have to understand about Laurel Loop when you go up there is you'll see these RVs. And they've got trees that are about 6 inches around that have grown around them to where they could never be taken out again. But you can and boats and boat trailers. You can tell it was a really nice community at some point in the past with people just like you and I and all that. It's kind of deteriorated because of where it sits and its isolation. And we went house to house to house, tried to help them get it cleaned up, get the road restored. And as Roger said, we didn't really have a lot to do with that. And it happened for us, and we were glad. We'd like to think that we restored some pride to that community and kind of re-strengthened that community. We've all talked as a group. We'll be going back up in there. We'll be looking, and we'll be checking on it from time to time because we now feel like we have a little ownership in Laurel Loop. So it really does help the community. Cops teams empower. We empowered them to get some of that cleaned up. We brought some inmates out there, but let me tell you, we didn't bring those inmates out there until it had been 4 or 5 days. We made the community get out there and do it first. We said, we've brought you the dumpster, we've brought you the way. We made them get out and get invested. Then we got invested with them and made it a team effort. But we just didn't go out there. I don't want you to think we just went out there and cleaned up for them. And that's what a cops team is I don't want to be cleaning up. We helped, but we empowered them to do it, and that was an important part of it. When you get all the community working together, you'd be surprised. We had a lot of offers from a lot of people to come help us do that. It definitely benefits the community. Does it benefit the county? I think it does. It's a huge benefit to the county. We form partnerships, and I don't know whether it's a good thing or not for I'm kind of picking on Roger a little bit because I have a feeling he gets contacted every third team or so because he's a big asset. But let me tell you, Every time that we would call Roger to ask him a question, he would be like, so yeah, when are y'all going out there? And I'd be like, we're headed out there now. We'd get there and there he would be. He came out there and met us out there several times just to make sure we kind of knew what we were doing. We needed that information. We needed Matt Stone. We needed to know what we could do, how we could condemn trailers. A lot of that we didn't understand. So just within the county itself, where the dumpster would come from, how it would go, that collaboration came in handy. Came in handy for us as we were dealing with that kind of stuff. And we look back at prior COPS teams. We tried to go back, we made it a point to go back to some of the different areas that the other COPS teams had been in and just to meet those people. I had no idea how we would be greeted. I mean, I knew they would be all right with us coming, but my goodness, we went out to Leicester and we were family and they were talking about the COPS team that had come out there, and I was telling someone that, they taking your blood pressure, taking your temperature, told me I was fat and bald, and then fed us shepherd's pie. It was a good time, was it not? I mean, it was like old home. I mean, we were just mixed in with them. We went to several open tables and several fire departments around, and really, the point of all that is those prior 12 COPS teams had opened a lot of doors, and we just went back to check with them, asked them if things were still going good, and it was amazing to reenact those partnerships. I felt like if we needed anything we needed, fire truck, light towers, anything that we needed at all, we would be able to get due to the work of prior teams and the inner partnerships without the county and that sort of thing. It builds a true problem-solving mechanism for the county. I mean, it's a problem to have abandoned homes of any kind. We talk a lot about trailers because of the program. Doesn't matter if it's a house, a trailer. People tend to use them for, illegal purposes. We know that, the big building that burnt down on Leicester Highway the other day, they're saying, people have told me that some folks were living in it, and that may or may not have contributed to it, but it's never a good thing when you've got some of that stuff going on. It's not safe for the folks that are going in it, and it's not safe for the property or anything else. So it builds a problem-solving mechanism and relationship building. Keeping those relationships active, developing relationships within the county. So it's definitely a benefit to the county. It helps the county be successful. I don't think that Roger Presley can be successful by himself. Like you said, he didn't want to go up into certain communities without taking officers with him. I don't think we can be successful without him. Matt Stone needs our help, and we need his help, and that goes on and on with all the different areas, whether it's DSS, whether it's the school system with the SROs. We've got to have partnerships throughout the county. Sometimes I think what we do is we over-focus on that partnership and think the only thing it can be is if there's a problem with a student at a school, then the SRO can help. But a lot of times it's just good information, things we can find out if we build those relationships. So it's definitely, COPS teams are important to the county, I assure you. What about to the agency? Is it a benefit to our agency to invest in these COPS teams? Share the victory, share the defeat. I think it's extremely beneficial to our agency to do these COPS teams. It helped open up lines of communications. We had someone with vast experience. Good old Schroet from CID investigations, and let's face it, he's done a lot more than CID. Those of you that know David Schroet know he's done a lot more than worked in CID. He's done a lot of things in law enforcement he brought to the table. Coomer, Ken, detention, fascinating. How many of you can right now make peppermint candy out of toilet paper and toothpaste? Raise your hand. I thought they were pulling my leg. What's going to be bad if this on video and you are pulling my leg? But I was fascinated. I was like, do what? They were telling me some of the things that go on over at detention. Those were the fun sidebar conversations, but they were also able to bring important things. I mean, these guys know what's going on. They know connections and relationships between some of the people there. What they brought to the table was invaluable in forming that relationship with them. When I need something from detention, I know when Ike needs something from detention, we're going to call our COPS Team 13 these communications we've established. Well, we're 13 teams in. There's 12 other teams that have those bonds and relationships. They're important. That helps this agency, and they know they can call us. We'll always be tied in that way. We're building relations together, intro relations. It also brought a bunch of diverse approaches. We did bring diverse approaches, and we talk about them, and you try to figure out, because sometimes the easy way is not the best way. And if you really want to solve a problem long-term, if you want to improve quality of life for all of us, you have to look at all the different possibilities. And that's why they call it an ill-structured problem, because there's no one answer. We tried to come up with our answer, and we tried to make things better in Royal Pines, in Glen Meadows, in Laurel Loop, and all those communities the best that we could. So it definitely benefits the agency. What about the individual? I think there's a perception out there about COPS teams in our agency sometimes, and it's like anything with change. I know I'm guilty of it. You know, you kind of feel like things are going pretty good. Don't really want to upset the apple. Well, this is what it's like. Life's good. You're enjoying your job. Things are good. You're enjoying your cheese. Little Karen Carpenter music. And you just got put on a COPS team. That's kind of what it feels like, you know? I think that's how we perceived it. That's kind of how, after day one, and Rusty did a great job on teaching us some stuff on day one, but we were all like, oh my goodness, the whole southern part of the county, our problem's worse than the other 12 problems. You know, that's kind of how we felt. So, you know, you got to have that image of, there you are. You're on a COPS team. And then you go through those first few days. Chief Presley works with you. Lieutenant Hall works with you. Captain Sweezy works with you. The sheriff comes by and talks, and you're working on these problems, and you're trying to analyze them. And this is what happens. You get empowered to do something. And you get the opportunity to see a problem through from beginning to end. And that's something in this job a lot of us don't get to do. We only have our part of it. We only have our shift of Adam Squad, and we don't know what happens when Charlie Squad's out there on the other days, or the night squads are out there. But on a COPS team, you get to see a problem all the way through, and that really helps you as an individual. It's really very rewarding. It helps you to reflect on what you can bring to the table. You kind of self-inventory the skills that you have that you can bring. It builds relationships. It's kind of a lot of fun. You know, someone pointed out, there's nowhere in this county you can go, honestly, that Ike doesn't know somebody. Everywhere we go, they'd be like, there's Ike. We all started hating Ike after a while. No, really. I mean, and you know why? Because every day Ike's out somewhere in this county, knocking on a door, serving a paper, going to the neighbor, asking the neighbor if they know where. And I think that's part of it. And Ike knows a lot of people. You know, and he knows that stuff. Jerry knew how to patrol things. You know, you were joking. There's a new booking process. Well, if it had been the booking process before that one, I'd have been in trouble. You know, because I don't get to do that kind of work, but it was fun to see some of those processes done. I joke Randy Sarles, it takes me about 40 minutes to write a ticket that takes him about, 3 minutes? I don't know. Didn't take him long when we had to, when we had to write some tickets during this process. So you grow a little bit, you learn a little bit of leadership, and you build some long-term relationships. It's a huge benefit to the individual to be on a COPS team. It benefits the county. It benefits this agency. It benefits the communities that become part of the problem, and it benefits us as an individual. I think we all focused on the benefit to the community, but what I want to tell you is there's a huge benefit to being a member of a COPS team. We honestly found it rewarding, fulfilling, formed bonds. It gave us vision. It kind of got us rejuvenated. You know, it's kind of nice to get out of the daily things that we do a little bit and get to work on something a little different. It's an opportunity that I really encourage you to take advantage of. And it sounds like a sales pitch, and it's not a sales pitch from any one of us up here. When you can get David Schroed excited about something anymore, there's things happening. When you get Ike excited, good things are happening. They've enjoyed it. We would all do it again. We'd do it in February, just flip us. Give us another problem, we'll start in February, we'd do it again. It's a privilege to see a problem through and through. It really is. Good is the enemy of great. Because when things are good, you really don't want to upset the cart. You really don't want to move forward. We need to become great, and these cops teams are part of it. We really feel strongly that they are. We have some people to thank, and I know we've missed some people on here, to be honest with you. Because of our dates and the holidays and some scheduling conflicts, our cops team got rushed just a little bit at the end. I blame Rusty, only Rusty, for all that. But we do want to thank some people. We don't want to single everybody out because every partnership's important, but Roger, we are going to single you out. I got something for you. Come up here a minute. We got you an official plastic bag cutting, laser engraved Buncombe County Sheriff's Office knife that says thank you on the back. We appreciate your just extra effort. Like I said, you didn't have to come out there every time we were out there, and he just did to make sure things were good. He did it all anyway that we needed, but then he would come out and make sure. We appreciate you. Thank you for everything you did. Matt Stone in the planning, he was great. He came out there with us. Amy Roney, and she'd have been here today, but I mean, they're like 4 days behind. I think the principals are all in a panic around here with the schools and what's going on. The community groups, the welcome tables, the fire departments, Dennis Presley. There's probably more folks we could add from outside the agency that were help. We could meet at any fire department we wanted to. Good things and good folks in the community, without a doubt. And of course, there are a lot of people inside the agency to thank. The sheriff for letting us do this. He really does have a vision and a heart for these cops teams. Captain Sweezy does an excellent job. Lieutenant Helen Hall, Mike Murphy, Chief Kevin Presley, Lieutenant Kevin Calhoun, Lieutenant Mike Summey serve the reserves, Michelle Robinson, and of course, nothing good happens at this agency without the tactical cracker involved. I want to thank Corey Ray and Wesley Anders in particular. All the SROs are always a tool of the cops teams. They happen to be needed, and they helped out a lot with some of the school issues that we were dealing with. Detention Prevention, what a wonderful program. Bert Alexander, of course, helped put all that and make that a reality. And then Jamie Stern, Josh Kaiser, and John Thompson were the ones who actually brought it out and did Detention Prevention. It's an awesome program that we need to keep growing it and keeping it active as we can.